With one, perhaps pointless, mystery out of our way, I instructed Pendleton to survey the area around the facility, whilst myself and the others investigated within. Holmes retired for the room containing aquatic plants, and Watson left for the rooftop. I know we had to do it, but I still feel a little sorry for Watson. I hope his cheeks are feeling better now. This aquarium really is beautiful, though. Come on, Emily, put two and two together. I admired the many tanks with a twinkle of wonder. Luminous tanks featuring both freshwater and saltwater fish were on display in dark rooms to convey a sense of touring the ocean. Actually, speaking of Emily putting things together, I just remembered something I wanted to start with and then promptly forgot and then promptly re-remembered, so yay me. I just realized, and I apologize if you guys were quicker than me and said in the last, commented on this in the last video, but it suddenly occurred to me as I was editing that last video that John and Jean, the two Lupins, if you will. So, it seems like when John falls asleep, Jean comes out to play. Because I noticed that it's when John gets either knocked out, or either by sleeping gas, or punched, or whatever the case may be, that's when Jean comes out. Which also makes sense because Jean does thieving at night. So that's why Jean Lupin showed up during the attack with the thugs, because John got knocked out by them, and then Jean woke up and threw the cards. What do you think? And again, I apologize if you guys said in the comments below, and I'm just rambling here, but I'm a little bit ahead because I need to play more of this. Speaking of playing more of this. Each tank was a faithful recreation of its respective environment, as well as massive enough to allow the life swimming within comfort equal to that of the real thing. Oh my, what a treat this is. Through wandering about did I find myself drawn to one in particular. The fish inside were small enough to fit several of them on a tablespoon where they'd be carefully scooped up. Before me was a living painting of reds, yellows, and blues, all dashing and intermingling with the flow of a brush to canvas. Shapes merged, dispersed, and stretched to no rhyme. 1 second served a different visual to the next. What energy! What beauty! I can hardly believe my eyes. It's like peering into a world of dreams. That it is. The beauty of this tank is truly in a league of its own. What? That voice came from the other side of the tank, I believe. Do you see it? How full of life they are. How there is elegance in their every motion, contentment, complacency, for they know not how it deceives. To these fish this tank is but a prison. Yet they remain unaware, and so they swim as though it were a palace. I must ask again, do you see it, Emily? Lupin? It's you, isn't it? The tank's back was fitted with a mirror, making it impossible for me to see what was on the other side. It's our boy. Also, something I noticed about Lupin's CGs, just seeing this pretty one. When it's Jean, his color scheme is very blue. Lots of blue with a little bit of yellow, a little bit of gold going on. But when it's John Lupin, his colors are very red. Red and bright yellow, orange. So kind of highlighting the day and the night. I thought that was a pretty neat thing. Just so you know, if you try anything suspicious, I will disappear. Then if I stay still, so will he. Oh? No fuss? No sudden movement? Then I was mistaken. You are not here to catch me. I wasn't aware of how desperate you were to see me since our last meeting. I have questions for you, Lupin. Is your true identity John Lupin? Shouldn't it be the other way around? I would have thought you'd ask if John Lupin's true identity was mine. Which one is really you doesn't matter. What I want to know is why you stopped coming to school. Indeed, I had no clues to what he was thinking. And indeed, I knew he was the key to retrieving my photograph. But more than I desired an answer for either of those things, that I wanted to know my anger after he was... I gone. I get it, okay. You didn't come to school the next day and you left me all alone. You heartless wretch.
What a peculiar question to ask of a gentleman thief.
Is this supposed to be a Lupin line? Or, I guess I'll read it as Emily. Did you fancy Lupin so? Okay, I guess this is... I'm confused about who's saying what here. What did the time at Harrington Academy mean to you? Was it so trivial that you could leave it behind and forget everything that happened there?
And just what do you expect me to say?
Answer the question. The Academy is an important place for me, as are you, Lupin. I always thought of you as a part of what made it so important. And then you left it all behind like it meant nothing to you!
This isn't a game or a school lesson, Emily. I don't have time to play the good friend anymore. I have a goal, and I shall stop at nothing until I've achieved it. This means I won't be returning your photograph to you, my dear. No matter how important it is to you.
You're a selfish man. I don't understand how you can throw away your memories, your friendships, and still smile.
I wonder, Emily, do you like stories?
Either he wasn't aware of my anger, or he didn't care. Whatever the answer, the tone which Lupin assumed was almost painful in its gaiety.
Call it a selfish request from a selfish man, but there's a story I wish for you to hear. Will you listen?
I suppose my silence was taken as consent, for he soon began. And I had no reason not to listen, for his voice added something quite pleasant to the fish I loved to watch. All right. Is this being told from him, or is she just recounting it? I don't know. We're going to find out.
Once upon a time, there lived a beautiful princess. She was one free of spirit. No man, woman, or being could rule her heart. Yet there were those who despised this about her, and so they stole her liberty through imprisonment in a dark castle. Under duress beyond her means, she waited. She waited for a hero, waited for a prince, waited for a miracle. But none of these came. Her freedom instead was restored by none other than a gentlemanly thief. This thief stole her away, and the two fell into everlasting love. Their love, in time, blessed them with a child, and oh, did they spoil this boy rotten.
Fairy tales are such wonderful things. I've loved them since I was a little girl. How I've longed for treasures like the magic mirror in the tale of Snow White, or the glass slipper in Cinderella.
But they aren't real. If they don't exist, is there a point in wanting them at all?
You say that, but your father may very well steal ones just like them. He was the first to ever give me a beautiful treasure as a present. Look, isn't this necklace stunning?
You always show that one to me. Do you love that necklace more than you love me?
Heavens, there's no reason to sulk. Why, your papa and I know our greatest treasure, and it is right here in front of me.
I don't like being treated like a baby, maman, but I like it when you give me hugs.
My goodness, how adorable you are. I wonder which one of us you picked that up from.
The princess was a mother now, but even in motherhood her nature held true. She wished for a world beyond the mundane, hungered for it. Her man would not hear of it at first. The danger was too great. But her love had a will of iron, and his that of wood, which was soon chipped away by a persistence that would not soften. He permitted her to assist in his work. Knowing his mother wished to help his father was a source of conflict for their son. The boy inherited his father's natural gift for thievery. It was quite possibly as early as the day he could stand that he was placed under strict instruction to bring out further potential. He knew but this one world. So remarkable was his talent that his father expected celebrity that would one day match his own. Still, the boy did not rejoice. Ah, he had no want to become a successor. Papa has Mama. Mama has Papa. What does it matter if I try? The world changed when harm came to his mother.
I am sorry. I made a mess of this one.
His father took her into his arms, but no matter how many times he pleaded with her, she would not speak of how she was injured. The necklace she always wore was nowhere to be seen. The son took her hand and squeezed it, but his warmth could not become hers. Minute after minute, her body grew colder.
When your mama was small like you, she loved stories of all kinds. She dreamt of a prince on a white horse coming to her rescue. And never did she dream the one who would come was a thief with a beautiful smile.
Mama, your hands are so cold. Please don't speak. Not another word.
Yet when your father stole me, I learned of true happiness. I found so many treasures. I was able to have you. You are both priceless treasures to me. I love you so much.
In the presence of her love and her child, she breathed her last. The two were overcome with grief. There was nothing that could fill the hole in the boy's heart. It was then that he accepted the world of his fathers, stealing one treasure after another, endlessly, in dear hopes of discovering a beauty that would one day heal his wounds.
Oof. Well, thanks for that one, Lupin. That got me in the kokoro right there. It's interesting about the necklace, though. Because, Emily has her necklace from her mother. I'm wondering if there's any relation there.
A good one, isn't it? People do love their tragedies.
I don't know why I touched the glass, then. It was cold, and its touch was so different to its brilliant color. Why did you tell me that story?
Because I wanted you to hear it. Is that not reason enough?
Well, Lupin, no matter what stories you tell me, I shan't change my mind. I will take back my treasure.
Such courage, Emily. Then again, I rather like that about you.
But I don't like the way you tease and lie.
That's it. So you like everything else about me?
How did you come to that conclusion?
I spoke in jest. I wish I could speak with you more even, but we've run out of time. I am aware of how rude it is to leave without giving a lady her chance to respond, so do forgive me. I enjoyed this moment of intimacy between us, however brief it was. And thank you for listening to my story.
Wait! He could have heard me, or he could have ignored it, but by the time I called to him, he was no longer there. My emotions surged in unrest, and the fish, stunning in all their color, continued to paint in unrest as well. The inspector was greeted soon after with news. There had been quiet in the hours the men dispersed to search for clues, so he thought one had been found when he overheard the footsteps of several flustered officers approaching.
Inspector Lestrade! Sergeant Ryan! We've got a problem! Calm down and tell me what's happened. The cage we set up has been activated. Then we've caught Lupin? Well, no, sir.
Watson, why? Why you?
Oh, I've really bungled this one. I was attacked from behind very suddenly, and before I knew it, I was trapped in here! Watson, just what are you doing? This isn't good, Inspector! If Lupin was the one who attacked Watson, then he must have noticed that wasn't the real Santa Maria. We need to make haste! Yeah, you're right! Let's check the tank where the Wait. Why? What's this, Holmes? Why did you grab my arm? There are two ways to find the Santa Maria. The first is to use your brain and observe for clues to narrow down its location. The second is much faster. Simply have someone who already knows where it is lead you right to it. And we all know that hard work isn't your style, is it, Lupin?
Oh man, did Lupin fool me? I thought for sure he would be Holmes.
I don't know what you're talking about, Holmes. I'm your assistant. I can't believe you would... A query for you then, Watson. Where have those marks from when your cheeks were pulled gone? They shouldn't have disappeared that quickly. If given two options, the thief will always choose the fastest route to their treasure. If that meant using the yard's trap against them, then so be it. Now, where is Watson?
You have nothing to fear. He is well. He's in the facility storage room, dreaming happily of swimming with the fishes, no doubt.
Watson explained with a playful smile. So he can just dress up as anybody he likes. He could be me, for all I know. Oh, he's got his cards out. Look out. This was because he was not Watson at all. With this smile came his transformation into Lupin, taking each of the men in the room by complete surprise. Actually, I wasn't wrong, because Lupin was not Watson or Holmes at the moment that Ryan was making his accusations. But at some point, he took over Watson's... He disguised himself as Watson, rather. Oh my goodness! Throwing cards!
What?
And, of course, an outed thief of his caliber would be a fool if he didn't escape through a plume of smoke. The room was filled to the brim.
What's going on? Where did the smoke... How could... Ugh!
Holmes then felt an unusual graze upon his cheek. He let go of Lupin. Big mistake.
A card, perhaps. Come back here, Lupin!
The gemstone did not disappoint. Certainly, its deep aquamarine could have reflected the very glow of the sea in its shade. Ah, what radiance! And Lupin thought it even more beautiful, knowing he had to outwit Holmes and Scotland Yard to obtain it.
I feel like fate enjoys playing matchmaker for us. Or it could be destiny of our own making, and this lustrous gem was the thread that happened to connect us. What do you think?
I agree that it connects us in some way. I'm only here because I knew this was where the gem was.
And how did you know it was in this tank?
I noticed earlier that the fabric of the sergeant's uniform was damp. Washing his hands could have caused his clothes to get wet, but then it would be his cuffs at most. The only scenario I could picture was that he rolled up the fabric in such a way that only the elbows would have gotten wet where he put his arms in water. And what would make that necessary? The gemstone, most likely. This led me to believe it was hidden underwater. Still, the police would not risk damaging something so precious by placing it in a tank with large or saltwater fish. That narrowed down its potential location to tanks with small fish that live in freshwater, taking me here, though it appears I arrived moments too late. I cast a swift glance at the Santa Maria glistening in Lupin's hand.
If I'm honest, I had hoped for an answer that would tickle the mind and tug at my heartstrings. A tale of a man and woman drawn by a bewitching stone like no other. It's a romantic concept when you think about it, isn't it?
Not in the slightest. I'm here because I want to stop your theft and take my photograph back.
A sensible response. It makes you sound like some officer or detective.
I'm like a detective? I am a detective!
Are you? You don't seem the sort to me. You strike me as a sweet young lady who would, say, trust even the words of a dashing thief.
Stop mocking me!
I do love watching your many expressions. I could weep knowing this is the last of them I'll ever see. You'd best stay away from me from now on. It's for your own good.
This cheer, which he often adorned, that sincere, playful smile, was overshadowed by a much colder impression. Yet I refused to step down. Why would I give up on his demand? I couldn't accept it. I wouldn't. Do you think I'll listen to you? Well, listen to this. I want my photograph back, so hand it over.
I cannot do that.
Then until you can, I will never stop following you. You expect everything to go your way, but it won't. Not this time.
My. You are so very brave, my princess, but so very troublesome as well. Well, if that is your wish, then pursue me to the ends of the earth. If you can.
Ah! Wait! With masterful flexibility, Lupin leapt. Yes, he limped. Lupin leapt to a nearby window and jumped. This is the first floor, but the facility was constructed in line with the shape of the gorge. It shouldn't be too far to the ground. You won't get away from me! I followed, placing my foot on the window frame before hopping out clumsily. Equally clumsy was my landing, which had dirtied my dress. Certainly I didn't possess the adroitness of a thief, but I had the tenacity of one. Good? Dirt was hardly concerning. Wait, Lupin! He disappeared behind a sharp corner of the facility, and I turned the same one soon after. Give me the photograph and the gemstone! This path we were on was too narrow for this sort of work. It became thinner, softer, and the ground more unkempt beneath my steps. I nearly tripped over myself once or twice when overlooking the cliff. This wasn't the time. Any more mistakes and he was sure to get away. We're gonna die here, unless he saves us. I forced all focus on Lupin. If I was to catch him, then with the exception of it being one more obstacle in my pursuit, the ground was not to come into play here. Ah! My focus became its most concentrated. Then it was disrupted by a hole in the ground, causing me to lose my balance. I couldn't slow down. I couldn't stop. I couldn't prop myself against anything. I'm going to fall! There was nowhere for me to go but off the side of the cliff. Man, Emily's really letting her cheese roux show today. I could grasp nothing. I watched in a speed that felt considerably delayed than reality, as my hair flapped wildly across my face with gravity's pull. The ground below was too far for me to see. How deep was the gorge? What was down there? These answers did not matter. It could have been forestry or flat lands, but the result would be the same. Am I going to die? The seconds passed, but time only continued to slow for me. I'd heard that the moment you die, your entire life flashes before you. I saw no such thing, but I could have believed this was that moment nonetheless. Did the world slow down to show me what I was leaving behind?
Damn it! You had to...
A desperate scream from somewhere far off reached my ears. But there was no way for me to see who it was. By God's blessing, my consciousness soon descended into darkness. I welcomed it. I wished not to see how my life would end. Along the bottom of Cheddar Gorge was a river. It was an ordinarily modest river that, upon a sudden splash from above, became defiled by a human carrying another in their arms. Aw, he went and saved her.
Are you all right, Emily?
When he reached land, effort gave way to pain, and he was able to feel the sharpness of such through his right foot.
I think my ankle's been hurt from the impact of the fall.
He laid the young lady whom he rescued at the side of the river. She had been drenched, eyes unopened, and hair twisted over her nose and lips. In a rushed panic, he placed a hand on her cheek, gave it a light pat, and prayed for a stir.
Wake up, Emily! Thank God. Only unconscious.
The news was not yet cause for celebration. Her face was pale and her breathing shallow.
She is not a brave princess, but a senseless one. I didn't think she would come after me with so little regard for her own welfare. Then again, I did jump after her. A gentleman still, I suppose, but I am equally senseless.
Lupin witnessed Emily's fall, and more than he desired a dramatic escape, he desired her rescue. He dived downwards without hesitation. Though he had his glider ready, he did not want to risk opening it until he had her in his arms. They fell. The gorge was tall and felt taller with the ferocious air cradling them. Lupin held her preciously, and with one free hand he hoped to spread his wings before being forced to bear the full impact of landing. He managed it, whilst nearly losing his chance at that, but his luck was stellar, and he was saved by both the glider and the river below them. His injuries were minor, but as he was not a man built for injury, even a sprain might be considered severe.
Now I see it. We've been washed pretty far downstream. Then... Oh, it would start raining now, of course. Has my luck turned rotten?
The weather in the gorge was well known for being fickle. It could be dry and pleasant only moments before a storm hit. The moment Lupin felt settled, a cold, heavy rain erupted.
I'll manage as I am, but I can't leave her like this.
The temperature dropped more so with dusk, which was fast passing into night.
It could be below freezing at this time of year once it's dark enough, and then we have the rain to add to that. This is looking bad indeed.
It would be a trial to move without a proper splint, but he had to chance it. The best he could do for the time being was tear a piece of the sash at his waist and bind his ankle as tightly as he could.
I must get her somewhere out of this rain.
Lupin gathered the Countess into his arms a second time. He knew she was lighter than this, but her dress, a rather beautiful one, pageanted with ruffles and frills, was soaked by rain and river, making her twice her normal weight. A discourteous thought, but difficult to unthink. It's practical, if you think about it.
I'm sorry, Emily. I know how cold it is, but bear with it for just a while longer.
Her body was lifeless. Lupin held her to his chest, but she made no sign of responding. To his anxiety, she was no more than a rag doll. His ankle ached. Whether he made to strain himself to use it lightly or cope with the pain, the result was the same. Step by step, ache by ache, he walked. Wow. What? A gentleman. There was little vegetation to be seen throughout Cheddar Gorge. It was more known for sheer cliffs and exposed rock. And its rain was unkind and no lighter than when Lupin started. Much needed energy had been rightfully sapped and could be sapped no more upon sight of a cave carved out of the rock. At last, shelter was found.
Emily, I'm starting a fire now. I won't be more than a minute. I didn't think this was how I was going to be using those special matches I stole from Papa. I expected there to be more theatrics.
This hollow was deep enough that Lupin could respectfully rest Emily upon a flat surface free from the downpour. I hope those matches are still dry. Branches had naturally settled along its entrance, and though plenty were damp, plenty could be exploited for warmth. Numb, frozen fingers had little option but to navigate setting fire to them.
Do I have anything else I can use? Ah, just my cards by the looks of it.
The playing cards, specially treated to resist wear and tear, were his weapons and symbolic in their own right. Other goods on his person, however, were rendered unusable. A shame, with Kindle being otherwise limited to twigs.
I don't like the idea of throwing these in the fire.
Uh-oh. Before he could rest, Lupin tensed at a sound that drowned the rain. Howling. Aw, man. Did we go into a wolf lair? No!
Wolves! And a fair few of them. They're close. What to do? I don't know if I should lament my poor luck for this wretched affair or rejoice for still having my cards. I'll be back soon, Emily.
His whisper, darling, courteous, and gentle, was so near only she could have perhaps heard it. He placed a hand along her cheek. She was still cold. Lupin left the cave to keep the beasts away from Emily, and there was no labor on his part to find them. Their bodies were obscured by the downpour, but their eyes, fierce in their glow, were all too distinct. The cards remained his only weapon. He raised them for battle.
I haven't got the time to roll in the mud with you. There's a lady waiting for me. So hurry up and get lost.
When they were close enough that Lupin could see their form, one bared its teeth, eager for flesh, with the rest following suit to pounce.
I shall have to make it clear that we won't be playing fetch today.
Woo! And so symbolic swords were drawn, the thief with cards which cleave through the air in perfect formation, and the wolves with gnarled fangs and outstretched claws. It was the cards that saw victory. Whew. Lupin, whose energy had long been exhausted, felt no relief as he turned back to the cave, his right foot now being dragged along the ground between terrible limping. This poor boy. Each step became an exercise in preventing his collapse.
Emily? What's...
Something wasn't right. What life she possessed to her before was drained. He strained himself to reach her, his knees clapping the ground and grateful to no longer carry his weight. Emily showed no sign of opening her eyes. Breath was ragged, body was shaking. To the touch, she was like ice.
She's so cold.
Lupin could not help but gasp when he held her hand.
She feels just as cold as Maman when she died. A fire isn't going to be enough to warm her. I need to find something else.
What was this? He'd started a fire, and it flickered, faintly, but there was more warmth to the air than before. His hand moved towards her clothes. Yeah, you gotta get the damn clothes off of her for sure.
Why? Why is she like this?
Fingers, hands, arms, chest, and all were cold. Her face was sickly in appearance. The red patches of blood blustering at her cheeks did nothing for the translucency of her eyelids or the unnatural bruising of her lips.
You've put me in a spot, Emily. I am a gentleman thief, not an expert on giving. And right now, I don't even have much to give but what's with me. So, all I can do is give my heat to you. And returns are for the cheap, so you'll have to make the most of it.
Lupin removed what was left of his torn sash, his coat, and his blouse, which were all dripping with rainwater. Then, illumined by the fire, he raised her shivering body into his embrace.
I mean, it's practical, but I'm just not ready. I was not ready. This is entirely practical, but I wasn't ready.
Whew. Oh yeah, that raised the temperature. Oh yeah, it's warm. It's very warm. Whew. Yeah. Okay. We're good job. We're all fine, right? Post your reaction to this down below. I must know. Yeah, okay. All right, I can do this. Emily's back was pressed against his chest. Lupin caught her rapid heartbeat. And her hair, wet and untidy, yet still soft, brushed his cheek. The feeling was divine. Oh, I bet you it was. When the thief noticed the matted set of strands against her neck, he took the utmost care to separate them.
She's so slim. It only takes a small touch to realize that. And this slim body had all that strength to pursue me.
Even her nape was beautiful. Dang. Look at that naked nape, though. He pulled her closer, nestling his nose against it. I'm sure what you're checking out right now is her nape. I am like, that's legit. That's 100% legit. Nothing else on her body would be, like, interesting at this point except for the nape.
What a sweet smell she has. It makes me feel oddly calm.
Her gold hair glistened with the fire, and as he observed, it curled into damp waves that brought to mind the sea.
She is beautiful.
It was an honor to know her. Though in truth, since he was well aware of his sensibilities, there was more than honor to this. There absolutely was. Lupin would be a fool to ignore it. She was enchanting. He brushed a light kiss along her neck and nothing more before bringing her closer. Nothing more. There was no fondling. There was no other kisses anywhere else except the nape. Okay? Make it very clear. Poor Emily when she wakes up. I really hope that he, like, redresses them before she wakes up. But I also hope that she wakes up before he redresses them. Anyway. Napes!
I can feel her heart beating. It's going so fast. Much faster than mine.
Her rhythm was pleasant as she. Yes, he was absolutely enchanted. And at last in his enchantment could he close his eyes and be lulled to sleep. That sounds like firewood? Is there a fire nearby? It's so cozy. Like I've been wrapped in something. I hadn't a clue how much time passed or what had happened to me. There was then, and then there was now. A sense of here. I had no desire to open my eyes or move. This warmth, whatever it could have been, had the pleasantness of a cozy winter's blanket that I would sorely miss once stripped from me. Just close your eyes again, girl. Just trust me on this. It reminded me of all those mornings when I was desperate to stay in bed. What happened to me? I remember chasing Lupin, and then I was falling from that cliff, and then... Sadly, there was no drifting into slumber left for me, and so I opened my eyes with due caution to my new surroundings. The first thing I spotted was a dwindling fire, and after that, soot-colored walls, a cave, and then there was a pair of arms wrapped across my chest, both of them as unclothed as I was. Arm? Chest? Why aren't there clothes? Oh, okay. Well, you kept your pants on, at least. At the very least. Oh, no. She was very slim. They're both actually quite fit. All the breath left me in a silent scream. How did I end up like this? Why am I naked? What happened? And whose arms are these?
Emily?
My confusion was mounting over all else, and the mumble that tickled my ear made my heart leap from shock. Something began to stir on my shoulder. That freaking smile. Look at the sparkles! Why does this voice sparkle? I cannot stop sparkling. Oh. Maybe it's a French thing. I don't know.
Are you finally awake?
I wasn't expecting to hear a man so close. No appropriate response came to mind. Was there an appropriate response for this? Yeah, good morning. How did you sleep? Thanks for saving my life. When no answer came, the arms latched further onto me with a tender strength. There was another skin against my bare neck, a feathery head of blonde against my bare shoulder. The entire upper half of his body was exposed, whilst mine was entirely.
Lupin? What is...
You aren't cold, are you?
Lupin made no effort to move, and his timbre delivered the quiet, hoarse texture of morning. I felt a shiver when his breath soothed the back of my neck. I'm not, but...
But look at you. You're shivering.
I was sensitive to every mild shift where our skin met. That isn't because I'm cold. That's, because... Lupin loosened his hold to caress my cheek with the back of his hand. There he was, moving. Moving! Again! And with skin leaving one place for the next, his heat lingered through my back, shoulders, chest, and all throughout, setting wherever was touched next the light. My back seemed to mold to his front perfectly. The shame was enough that I'd hoped I was still sleeping.
If you aren't cold, then I'm glad. You were shaking so much earlier.
Lupin's whisper dropped so that I nearly couldn't hear it. Contrary to the vivacity he displayed in our encounters, he was now docile, but charmingly fierce in the way one was when they refused the call of sleep.
I was getting panicked when I felt how cold you were. I'm glad you've warmed up.
His hand caressed my cheek and played with my hair.
You've struck me, Emily. You're small, and you're soft. I didn't think anyone like you would have the nerve to chase after me.
I'd been lost to a cumbersome emotion that was, at the same time, agreeable. The magic it worked made my heart thump from the mere sight of his skin, and though my mind wished to swirl into confusion, Lupin emerged from the mess as its one true occupant. A startling something stroking me gave me focus. Oh boy, more nape kisses. The something nestled through my hair to touch my nape. Surely it was Lupin behind us, but I didn't know what he was doing. What you doing? No, what are you... When I twisted my body to see him, he trapped me in his arms more securely. I wanted to huff at what a child he was being, but I could do nothing. Not even a stern breeze could have found a path between us. We were so close. A stern breeze. I love it. There was no place to run or hide either, for had I stood, my shame would be twice as much. I wished again that I were decent. Lupin, can you take your hand?
Wait, please. Don't move.
The tickle which weakened me before returned, together with the answer to the mysterious something. Lupin had been rubbing his forehead at my nape like a kitten in need of attention. Lupin? The way he held me then, I felt treasured, needed. He gave adoration openly, and at this moment, I rather didn't mind it. It somehow made the words he used all the more captivating.
Please, stay like this. Stay with me. Always.
Lupin's speech was growing sluggish and intermittent by the second. He relaxed his hold on me, in the lightest, sweetest way one could, before he stopped moving. He's gone to sleep. At last, he was at rest whilst using my shoulder as a pillow. I don't think his ankle was bandaged back at the facility. Was he injured, saving me? A thought occurred. Was that Lupin's voice I heard when falling? Oh, forget it as a mere thought. It was the only logical conclusion. That without his calling out, without his rescue, without his injury, I would not have survived the fall. I'm not comfortable staying in the state of undress, but it would be wrong to wake him. I suppose I can let him sleep for now. I closed my eyes again. If I didn't see this warmth as naked arms, then it was my hope I could will my imagination into believing it a simple blanket. Yet it was no longer as comfortable as when I'd first awakened. It was steadily becoming hotter any more, and I should have liked to melt and wash away with the rain. Was my heart the guilty party, perhaps? It beat far more rapidly now than ever before.
I can feel his heartbeat. It's a completely different rhythm to mine.
The two, my heartbeat and his, created dense heat, serving at first as a healthy distraction from sleep. Then it became the fuse. Beat by beat, the sound became a song, and the warmth enough to lull me to dreamland.